Today is May 25th, 2017, and we're out in front of 5508 Kemper Road in Baltimore, Maryland. Looking at a house most likely built in the 1940s, or at least soon after World War II. Still a bit of a rainy day right now, not too bad. Obviously the sidewalk is kicked up because of this tree. And you need to sort of fill that in, otherwise you're going to have a trip hazard that could end up with some nasty person bringing a lawsuit against you if they break an ankle or something. Front walkway looks good. I'm looking for the water vault and I'm not seeing it. I would assume that the water comes in from the front, but could come in from the back as well. Got 8-inch masonry up to the second floor, and subsurface drains for the downspouts. Often these have a lot of problems. I like the idea that they put on the larger half-round downspouts. And one of the downspouts up on top right there has come off. So far I can't tell what the roof is. We get upstairs, we'll be able to get a better look at that through the window. Little improvised walkway here, as well as the walkway that's right there. Structure hasn't shifted at all. Masonry looks quite good. A good sized deck on the back. Outside faucet that's right here. And another subsurface drain for our downspout. This faucet, it's really important that this be turned off in the wintertime and drained. There's a shutoff valve on the inside. We'll try to find that when we get in there. And the second deck on top of the rear addition roof. Okay. Lots and lots of really tall trees. You at least want to cut the tree branches back from the roof. As a heavy windstorm, they can scrape against the roof and knock shingles loose, or at least tear them up a bit. And we need we need joist hangers on all of these. Every joist in here must be attached to the outside rim board. Yeah, all of these guard posts and everything are not particularly safe at the moment. Let's see how well this is attached to the house. Yeah, we've got lag bolts on almost every other joist pocket, which is basically what we want to see. Again, more cracked up concrete. All of these walkways have had damage that's occurred to them. From here it sounds like Bryn Mawr School is in the playground right now. This is going to cause problems. It's obviously causing this brick to kick out. We need to get an extension on this. There's a downspout underneath that, or a subsurface drain. It needs to be reattached. Got our garage doors here that are made of wood. And this stuff is usually not much more than pressed paper. It's really important that the paint on this get maintained. And at some point it'll probably rot out and you'll need to put in a metal door. Had some wet rot that's occurred, on the bottom edges of this on both sides. Retaining wall of pressure treated lumber, 6x6, and they put what they call dead man. It's tied back in reasonably well, but not so well on this side. This 6x6 has failed and needs replacement. Driveway, we've got so many leaves on it, can't tell that much. Driveway is not in that good a shape. It's got a lot of cracks in it and it's rutted out. They do make fillers that you can put into the cracks, and you could coat this. Maybe that would help to hold it up a little bit better. Coming up along this side, we've got another set of another deck with not much of a railing on this one either. Oh, looks like the carpenter bees got at you.
Oh no, we just got rid of some of those in the other place.
There you go. And here's our electrical. And it's 150, 200 amps of electricity going in. And the old metal pole is where the power initially came in. We've got subsurface drains for our downspouts. I have no idea where those discharge. I would usually recommend that you have a clean out on top of those so you can get a garden hose in it. With all these trees around here, your gutters can fill up with leaves very, very quickly. The very least, I would cut up little three-sided piece in the thing so you can get a garden hose in there to flush those out. It's not raining heavily enough today for it to back up if it's clogged.
I wonder if that's why they were removing railings from carpenter to get rid of carpenter bees or not. Yeah, and electric will need a good look while we were looking at the house.
I don't know how old it is, but still probably the majority of AC systems I see have a refrigerant in it that's now outlawed. And this is the Puron, is one of the brand names for the stuff that's now approved. Okay. Find out how old it is. It may still be under warranty. Okay, it's got a good tall. It was a pretty high-end machine.
Okay, good. So the other thing I will point out about the house.
This is our label on here. I'm sorry David isn't with me today. Figure out that date on that fairly easily. Should possibly be under warranty. It's fairly new. Got a radon system here, and we got a situation which I find disturbing in that the water coming down here right now rolls up against the house, and it's going to cause all kinds of seepage and problems down in the basement. This whole area need to pull off all this soft material, put it on some plastic temporarily. You get some clean fill dirt, the type of soil they take out of the ground when they excavate for a basement. You want something that doesn't have a lot of roots, branches, debris in it. And you want to bank that up against the house so that it drops 1/4 inch per foot over a distance of 5 feet out from the house. It should be on top of the clay-like soil. And once that's done, you want to put all that mulch and stuff on top. That way, when the gutters have icicles in them or full of leaves and the water comes crashing down here, it'll hit that soft material, will percolate through it, hit that clay and ooze away from the house. If it's just fill dirt, it'll get eroded. If it's just mulch, it'll drop down and pond against the house, which will lead to seepage problems. Chimney looks good. The shingles, I'm not sure what they are. Hopefully when we get up on this deck, we'll be able to tell. More walkways up this way, more subsurface drains, another outside faucet. This is one which you cannot have these just dropping water against the house. It's going to cause settlement and all kinds of things. Here everything is rolling back toward the house, and what you need to do is cut this off right here, put a coupler on that, run a corrugated 6-inch plastic line. It'll be about 5 feet long, out to carry the water out to here. Do the same thing with this one, cut it here, build the soil up to about here. You need to extend the height of this window well, and that could be done with 4x4 pressure treated lumber. This whole area needs to be radically regraded. I know we're going to find all kinds of, we're extremely likely to find a lot of problems down in the basement because the grading around the house is very, very, very poor. Yeah, here, as well as regrading against the foundation itself and raising the height of that window well, it would be very advisable to basically improve this little ditch and get it so that it's more adequately going to carry all the water that's coming from the street and the sidewalk down toward the house. We need grading on basically on all sides of the house. Not too bad here. Okay. There are a lot of extremely old trees around this house, and if you find that you got a bunch of dead limbs, I would call an arborist before I would call anybody to take any of the limbs off. You want that to be done by you at least want advice on how it should be done. One thing I'm not going to be able to see from the roof today is going to be the top of the chimney, and that at least looks quite good. I've got stainless steel cap on top of that. There should be probably 2 flue liners running through it, one for the water heater and heating plant, and the other one for a fireplace. I have no deterioration in the brick, so I feel reasonably confident that the concrete cap on that's probably in pretty nice shape. Now in the family room above the garage, and this is the railing, which has had some powder post beetle damage. Got insulated glass windows. And type of heating system is probably electric. This is probably simply a screen porch with, or possibly a Florida room, and probably is not going to be used much in the winter time. I doubt if this electric baseboard heating is going to adequately heat it in the winter time all winter. You're only going to turn the heat on occasionally when you're using this. In mild weather, it might be nice to have breakfast out here. This up and come back on it and see what it's like once it's had a chance to warm up. Looks like we got a broken window here, yeah. Something happened. We're now out on the first deck, and looks pretty good. As I say, these railings are just not that safe. Decks like this are always fine. The deck itself, the platform is fine. It's the railings, the guardrails that are a potential hazard. Decks are fine up until the time when you have a graduation, a funeral, or a wedding, at which point the whole house fills up with people, and you get about 5 or 6 guys weighing 150 to 225 pounds. They'll come out here with a plate of food in one hand and a drink of some sort in the other, and they'll all sit or push against the railing, and it's going to crash and come off the deck entirely. That's why all of these railings need to be reinforced. We're going to look at the one upstairs, and we now know that we've got a slate roof. And it looks like I got a problem with my slate right there. I'm not going to be able to get up onto the main roof itself. With slate roofs, you can always count on there always being a few loose slates or slates that are broken. With all these tall trees, it's very likely that tree branches are going to move around and hit the slates and break them. I might even have one right here that's broken. That's the way it looks to me. And I got others which look like they're a little bit loose. At one time, these little metal rings were intended to keep the snow from cascading off the roof. The ones that are up there are not very expensive, and they're not doing very, very well. I'm still not sure as to what type of shingle siding we have. I believe it's probably cedar, but it's also possible that this is a concrete shingle, which may have a little bit of asbestos aggregate in it. We'll try to figure that out too when we get upstairs and start looking out the windows. And just in a couple of minutes that we were out on the deck, we were able to get some heat from the electric baseboard heat. So we're going to turn that off during really cold weather. That heat's not going to heat this room. Very nicely done though. We're now out on the deck above the Florida room in the garage, and this has been finished with what somebody would call a rubber roof. It's probably an EPDM roofing membrane. I don't like to see water standing on it the way it is over here, but hopefully that'll dry out within a couple of hours of a good rainstorm. Not that thick. Well, it's a little thicker than I might want to have. Railings themselves look like those are pressure treated, which is what we want. Probably the reason we're getting damage to the railing downstairs is that part of that deck may be very badly pressure treated wood, or wood that's not pressure treated at all. This decking, well, you know, probably nobody ever will be here other than members of the family, so this is not going to be a place where guests are going to gather. Gutter, this is one where the downspout is just discharging right on the ground and really needs some attention. As I say, this, I believe it's a tulip poplar, and my fears of the roof from down underneath are proving to be correct. Got a slate right there that's badly broken. A couple of others that are loose. We'll look at those from the windows. And this is cedar. I believe it's cedar. It's wood shingles. And cedar is about the only thing that would hold up this well this many years on. Obviously, one of the things which has held it together is that it's probably got lead-based paint on it. Not that you have to worry about that. We got a shingle here that's missing, and you ought to be able to get somebody to mill something together for that if you like. Slates all look pretty good. Here's our electrical drop once again, and a bunch of tree branches that really need to be cut back. I regret that I'm not going to be able to get up onto the roof itself, and my view from of the chimney is no better here than it was in front. Even worse, actually. Unfortunately, this window in the bath is painted shut. I can't open it. But the slate that's sitting right here is not attached to anything, so it must have fallen off the main roof. I got a lot of algae out there that can be cleaned off by companies which specialize in such things. The sashes are they're good wood sashes. They're original to the house.
Yeah.
We've got zero clearance weather stripping on the bottom, which goes into a groove here. These are friction balances to hold the thing up in place. And I'm sure the upper sash is totally immovable. Yep. Now look at the paint on there, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. The other thing about it is that we got a little bar that's on the back of this.
Yeah.
That's intended to fit into that little J channel. And this is bent down right now, and the J channel is full of junk. And you need to kind of try to clean that out and get this so that it'll actually come down and close all the way, which it won't do right now.
I see.
Okay? Primarily because of that little J channel. All right? Not that big a deal. I'm looking at houses built in 1990 where all the windows need replacement.
Yeah, we replaced all the windows in our house, in our current house. I prefer not to do it again.
These are in very good shape.
That one has a painting that's broken.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was a BB shot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe a rock, who knows.
I don't know, it's kind of
We're now down in the basement and have fired up the boiler, which is over here. It's a Wild McLean's, a cast iron boiler. Tend to be very good. They usually last 35 to 40 years. This one's getting up in age. Don't know how old it is. Okay. Biggest problem we have down here is there's not enough combustion air for the water heater and the boiler itself. These things need an awful lot of combustion air. And right now this door is shut and that door is shut and you're doing laundry. the dryer will act as an exhaust fan, and it'll pull air down from the chimney and bring a lot of flue gases into the house. We need probably louvered doors at the top of the stairs, or at least take the doors off for this whole system to work. I'd never like to see a laundry set up next to gas appliances like this. Some of the old flooring is 9x9 resilient flooring, and that's likely to have some minor bits of asbestos aggregate in it. It's not hazardous, it's not friable. If you wanted, you could put very inexpensive tiles like these directly on top of it and you'd be fine. I'm really surprised and pleased that we're finding very little evidence of seepage in the basement, and that we've got a couple stains over here, which are water stains, and the bottom edge of the boiler shows that it's rusted up from time to time. So there has been water in here, seepage at one time or another, and that we would certainly expect from the way the grading is on the outside of the house. It's really poor. Probably somebody came in and they put, oh wow, that's quite interesting. Yeah, your foundation's stone. It's put together with Portland cement, which is great, but in the areas where the worst problems I would have expected from seepage, somebody's come in and probably put an extra inch or two of concrete directly on top of the stonework, and then they put concrete along the edge here to try to clog up that barrier between the slab and the outside foundation wall. There is a radon remediation system in the house, and right now the fan for that is not working. On this little blue liquid that's here, I should expect to see one side about an inch, half an inch to an inch and a quarter above the other one. As they're flat liners right now, the radon system is not functional, and probably we'll get a reasonably high radon count. The boiler looks quite good. As I said, all this rust that we have at the bottom just tells me again that there has been seepage in the basement from time to time. Boiler's doing quite well. When I got here, it was at about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and pressure on it was about 12 to 15, 18 psi, which is fine. This is the circulating pump. This one is water lubricated, and when it fails, I would strongly recommend that you have somebody put a ball valve here and a ball valve here. Right now, to replace that, it's probably going to run you about $700 or $800, because the plumber's going to come out and spend about an hour and a half draining the whole system down, replace the circulating pump in probably half an hour, and then spend 2 hours filling everything up again. If you had a ball valve at the top and bottom, all you need to do is turn those off, leave the water in the system, and replace the pump, which would not cost very much money. I'm going to test the draft total on both this and the water heater. Water heater is very far from the chimney. It really should have been placed way over here so that I'd have much better slope for the flue gases to leave. I'm going to turn that up, and we're going to see how well that works. Right here we have our main water shutoff valve. I've turned that off and it functioned quite nicely. This is our gas line as it comes into the house. And over here we have an old oil tank. This needs to go, and it looks like it's probably empty. 15 years ago it was always possible, if you had a little bit of oil left, to get somebody to come and pump it out and take it away for free. Today it would be considered hazardous waste of all things. The tank indicates that it's empty, and if that's the case, I would certainly pop the line here, put something underneath it, see if there's anything in there that might drain out. It looks like the tank itself is shot. Yeah, in some cases you can get people to come by and take the tank away. That's not going to be the case here. What you're going to need to do is get somebody to drill a hole in it and then cut through the top, clean out all the oil that's in there, then probably cut the thing in half and get it out of here. What's really critical with these things is that when the air relief for this is taken out and this is taken out, it's absolutely essential that the lines that are on the outside of the house be taken off. About 8 years ago on a street in Ruxton, somebody's oil tank had been taken out, and midwinter a delivery was made with ice and snow all over the road. The guy went to the wrong house, hooked up his tank and pumped about 300 gallons of oil into somebody's basement floor. So you want to take those things out on the outside and plug the holes. Other ideas in here that would be appropriate is in each one of these joist pockets or above the foundation wall. Right here we're underneath the floor hearth of the fireplace, but every place else it would be appropriate to put some insulation in there. This is the shut-off valve to the outside faucet on this side of the house. We got one in the back, and hopefully we're going to find that before we leave. Those should be turned off at Thanksgiving time, and the outside faucet's drained down. And here's the other outside faucets in the corner of the basement bedroom. We'll try to figure out where the shutoff for that is. We're now in the basement bedroom, and the outside faucet's right about there. So there's a pipe coming down to it, but I'm not seeing any valve for shutting that off readily. Let's see if there's anything further in the house or in here. It shouldn't be in here. No, nothing here either. Okay. I'm going to pop that open, see whether that might be it. In this room, I have no idea why this access was installed. I've stuck my hand all the way down in here, and I can't find any shutoff valve or any pipe, which may lead to the shutoff valve on the outside faucet. So that is missing. It probably was covered over when all this space was done with drywall. And also in the basement, we have this strange room with a lock on it. Maybe it was somebody's wine cellar at one time, or maybe they had a lunatic relative who they put down here. It's sort of an inconvenient way to put storage in. And this was obviously arranged in here back to the days when there was frequent flooding of the basement. Let's see what the flooring looks like underneath here. Yeah, see, this flooring is all coming up, and needs to be carefully taken out, just with a putty knife probably, and thrown away. It may have some asbestos in it. You double bag that and mark it as floor tile with possible asbestos. As I recall, the city should take it away. It certainly doesn't have to be done by an asbestos contractor or go to a special EPA dump up in Pennsylvania. Every county in Maryland has to have landfill that'll take non-friable asbestos products like this. Water heaters normally last 8 to 12 years. This one complies with the manufacturing standards for 2002, so it's probably more than 10 years old. I can't get in it with the newer ones. They put a shield against that so that you're not going to get on the inside. We want to do a draft test with a smoke pencil to see whether this is drawing reasonably well or not. Wow, I'm liking what I'm seeing. Yeah, it's able to pull the smoke in on all four sides, so even though that's a very long run, it's functioning properly. All the water lines that I've seen in the house are copper, so I assume the house was built with copper lines. Haven't seen any signs of termites or anything like that, even though there's not many spaces I can look for them. Basically, much of the back of the house has been finished off with drywall. And these basically are manifold. 4 are radiators upstairs, are convectors. And unfortunately, they're not labeled. Somebody sprayed them with a little bit of green paint, it looks like. Okay, not much I can say about that. At one time there's a little bit of rust on here, but usually on iron and galvanized pipes like that, it'll seal itself up. There's not a lot of oxygen in the water for the boiler system, so it's not likely to cause excessive rust and failure of any steel pipes. This is the expansion tank for the system, and it functions just the way the little plastic bottle next to the radiator of your car works. In your car it says minimum and maximum. The idea being that you must have some air in it so that when the engine is turned on and the coolant and water expands, it'll compress the air in that tank. When the engine is turned off, the compressed air will then force those liquids to the top of the head of your engine. This does the same thing in here. As the water expands, it compresses the air in here, and as it cools, compressed air forces it up close to the top of everything, and my pressure gauge is not shifted, which is fine. It's exactly what I want to see. Now I'm cranking up the washer and the dryer, and water's now going into the washing machine. I can't tell whether hot or cold or in the right position, but it's usually best with these neoprene hoses to shut the water off when they're not in use. I've had a couple of clients where they've gone away for the weekend just as this pipe will crack right at the point where it's crimped, and then it's like turning a garden hose on in your house. It floods everything out. They do make hoses for washing machines which have braided metal on the outside. You might consider replacing those. On this laundry sink there's no hot water. It looks like there's cold only. Let's see if that's turned off underneath. Again, the water supply to this is these little plastic hoses, and again I would like to see those gotten rid of. They're both open, so I don't know why there's no hot water here. It's also essential that the discharge for the clothes dryer be taken out every once in a while and cleaned out. We lose about 15,000 houses a year to dryer fires that are created by lint that's caught in here. Because this one's a gas-fired dryer, it's going to be a little hotter than most. We lost a house in Albany, Maryland about 15 years ago. In the rear corner of the basement we have our main electrical service panel, and we have our alarm system, burglar alarm system. The baseboard heater on the floor here is electric, which suggests that we're probably going to have electric in the bedroom and bath as well. And in the basement bedroom, I'm glad to see that we have a hot water radiator, which is great. We've got one in the little bathroom too. I usually carry compression stoppers for my shower stalls, and I'm afraid I had left both of them at the last house where I checked the shower stalls. I will come back and do that at a later time. This is not plumbed up. There should be this and this should be attached, and they're not. I guess they found that it was just with this door open and that radiator's heating up, it's probably going to be sufficient for this room. At present, I'm not getting any heat off that at all. And no, it's disconnected as well. So there's no possibility of, there's not much heat down here in the basement. Somebody has disconnected the radiators, which makes no sense. They're probably full of water, and not a good idea. The only thing that could provide some heat in here is this baseboard heater, electric. And we'll see whether that functions as we look at our electrical. There we go, turn it up to high. Okay. Now looking over our electrical service, and it's a 150 amp panel. It's got a 150 amp mains disconnect on it. It's okay to have aluminum on the entrance cable and on the 220 volt circuits. And in this case, all of our 220s are copper. Our entrance cable is aluminum, and all of our branch circuits in here are copper as well. The only real problem I'm finding on this is that we've got a wire here that probably isn't even 20 amps, but it's on It's a 110 volt circuit, and it's on a 220 volt breaker, which will never trip. If this is overheating, that wire would melt and cause a fire. So this has got to be changed out. There's also a sub panel with fuses, Edison type fuses on the stairs upstairs, and I'm reasonably certain that that cable running to this isn't even a 20 ampere. I think it's 15 amps. So that's got to be changed. The bus for the neutral wires and the grounding leads is fine. I've got no problems with that. The only real problem I have is that somebody put the screws together and they put a wood screw on here, which is this one. And that's real good at cutting through insulation and causing lots of sparking. I'm not going to put it back in. We're now looking at the electrical sub panel at the top of the basement stairs, and I have no problems with this. I do have a double tap of 2 circuit wires going to a single fuse right here, and that's not allowed. That should have a separate fuse for it, but there's no way of doing that here. You can get around that by, it can only be 1 wire going to each screw. What you could do is pull these off, put a 3rd wire on it, put a wire nut on it like this, then have a single wire running through it. It doesn't bother me that much. So far everything seems to be going well in the kitchen. Dishwasher's on, we're running this through a cycle, shoot up some ice, there's no leaks underneath it. Surface burners on this are fine, and the broilers now come on. Refrigerator may not be as cold as it should be. We're going to check that out. Kitchen is checked out nicely. Refrigerator should be turned down a notch or 2. It's about 8 degrees, too warm in both areas. Here's our dining room. And we do have at least one 3-pin receptacle here. That seems to be it for the dining room. We'll see whether that's wired correctly. That's functioning the way we would like to see it. This is our main thermostat for the house. We've set that at set it pretty high, 77, 78. I'm going to check all the convectors in the house. This one's doing very, very well. The idea of this knob is that if you want to lower the temperature in here without playing around with the flow valve down on here, you can turn this and it'll close this vent, which will limit the convection that's taking place right now. Cold air is coming out at the bottom, warm air is coming out at the top. And if this is shut, it's not going to give off as much heat. Probably most of those can't be turned, not easily at least. As noted earlier, there's just a couple of baseboard heaters in the Florida room. Going into the living room. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 electrical receptacles in here. We'll test those out too. We've got a wood burning fireplace. We're going to check that out. This is our masonry fireplace, and it's all done with refractory brick. It's got the right dimensions to it for a wood burner. And the damper on this is a screw type damper that's controlled by this handle right here. And right now, when I turn it, I just turn it to open it. And it needs a little cleaning or lubricating. It needs a little cleaning or something. It's not opening quite as far as I would like. And it's not closing fully either. With it open like that, it's going to be equivalent of leaving a window slightly open all winter, which we don't like. We'll try to get a look up inside there a little bit better. Both convectors in here are working properly. Very oddly, we found that there's another one underneath this cabinet, which is mostly choked off by the cabinet itself. Probably there's more than sufficient convectors in the house. Most of the windows have storm windows on them. The bay window does not. Clearly when the house was built, there were no storm windows and probably very little insulation in the attic. So the use of excessive numbers of convectors was appropriate. It's no longer appropriate. In order to get enough air down in the basement, it should be possible to either put a louvered door here, or it should be also possible to possibly open this up and put a very large grill or louvered grill here, which probably you'd have trouble finding a really big one. Then cut through the drop plaster here and put a very large one here. That should be enough for feeding the combustion air to the gas appliances downstairs. Got a powder room in here. And how's this convector doing? Yeah, it's kicking out some, not a lot, but that helps. It'll take us a while to determine whether this is hot water or not. Trouble with this faucet is on both that and the cold, there's a little screen up in here. Ooh, yeah, there's a screen up in here. Well, no, maybe not. Usually there's a screen up in here to catch any pebbles or dirt that gets into the potable water, and I don't find one. For some reason, the faucet set itself is clogged, and it's not allowing a normal flow of water. Yeah, I got vaguely warm water right now. So there is hot on the left and cold on the right. There are only a couple of reasons why I will return to a house for free to do a recheck on something. One of them is slate roofing. If that is now beginning to delaminate and is close to the end of its life, I cannot tell on a rainy day. I need to see that roof when it's dry, and I will come back for that. I also have somehow misplaced the compression stoppers that I will put into a shower stall. I like to plug those up and have the water stand in them for at least an hour. If the lead pan or the PVC sheet that's underneath the ceramic tile has failed, to replace that usually is going to be $2,000 to $3,000. I did undo the cover on that, and the plumber took a real shortcut. Clearly the screws that go in there are supposed to be stainless steel, and instead he just used some ungalvanized screws that have totally failed. It makes for real problems. All I can do is put it back the way it was. Okay, there was only one screw in it, and hopefully when I come back to check the slate, I get back into the house. There's a shower stall here, and there's one down in the basement as well. I'm glad to at least find that this is tempered glass and this is tempered glass. We don't want conventional glass on these at all. The most legitimate way to check a shower stall is to take the cover off it, put a compression stopper in it, tighten that up, then bring in buckets of water and fill it up about an inch or so around above the floor of the shower stall. Let it sit for 24 hours, see if you get any water dripping down underneath. I'll try to at least do a, say, half-hour test on that when I come back. Otherwise, everything else seems to be functioning properly in here. Not getting a drop-off in our functional flow of pressure, which sometimes happens if we have galvanized pipes, running hot water over there, and everything's checked out properly here. Otherwise, in the master bedroom, things are checking out all right. Again, we don't have that many receptacles, certainly not as many as you would have in a modern house. Looks like there's 2 or 3, probably 3, and those seem to be wired correctly. Not quite getting as much heat on the convector here or in the master bath as we are downstairs, but heat rises, so that should all be fine. As noted earlier, we've got a hole in the window over here. It's either a BB or a rock that hit it. Hallway, everything looks all right. And this convector is doing all right. They're about 20 degrees cooler than the ones downstairs, and one of the reasons may be that there's air at the top of the convector. There is some air in the system that will tend to migrate to the top of the house, and this is a bleeder valve right here, which is painted over in this case. The idea is that you put a little cup underneath that, turn this, twist it, let all the air out until it stops sputtering and popping. You get a full shot of water. Then the convector that's in there will be fully capable of having water flow through it readily. These are the 2 bedrooms, and again here we have a bleeder valve that probably is. This one's a little warmer. Yeah, I think we got a little air in those other ones. Again, on this whole wall here, no receptacle. There's one up underneath here and one over there. So 2 for the entire room. And we don't have any open grounds or wiring that's been done incorrectly that I've found. Many of the windows are painted shut. And the storm windows beyond those should have little weep holes down at the bottom. Otherwise, on a really, really cold day, moisture that migrates out of the house and around this window probably can cause a little bit of ice to ice up on the glass of the storm window. This is the closet that gives me access to the attic. I'm going to go up there in a while. We need to check the other bedroom out and the hall bath first. Here's our hall linen closet. That seems to be fine. Another small bedroom on this side of the house. Again, very few receptacles, 1 convector. Probably 3 receptacles in here. That's pretty good for 1940 particularly. And this convector is also about 20 degrees lower than the ones downstairs. And we'll see how this is doing. Again, these are fine. Looks like a real electrician did all the work on the electrical up here. Right now we're simply running hot water in this bathroom. And if there are galvanized pipes, it'll be the hot water pipes that'll show the problems most readily. Okay, that's able to shoot all the way across the tub. We'll get it to drop down a little bit as we flush the commode and open a few more valves up. That's doing great. That's really, really nice. Believe me, in my 1912 house, we had a galvanized entrance pipe and copper lines throughout. And if someone were taking a shower, somebody would turn on the outside faucet. That old galvanized pipe, no water would come out of the shower head. This is great. It tells me that the functional flow is really quite good. Clearly, the one thing about this tub is that it does not drain at all well. Your best bet is not to use Drano or anything with really, really heavy chemicals. There's a cleaner that's made by ZEP, Z-E-P. It's called Drain Care. It's a liquid, green liquid that you can buy at the big box store, and it's an enzyme. What you do is, say, fill the tub up with hot water to this point, let it drain out, then pour like half a cup in and a few more ounces of water at the end of the day. Let the pipe sit overnight, and it'll tend to eat it up. You do that 3 days in a row, and this probably will clean out without hurting the pipes. And in all of the bathrooms, we have a safety device that only was required starting in 1980. It's called a ground fault interrupter, and they're functioning properly in the bathrooms. Looks like there's only, checking it out, but I didn't see any supply registers for my air conditioning downstairs. I've only got one in this room. Wow. I've got one in the bathroom, one in the hall bath, that's 3. One in each bedroom, 4, 5. At present, there's no smoke detector in here. And I would not recommend just putting in an ionized particle smoke detector, which is the most prevalent type. You want one that has the letter P on the surface. and that means that it's a photocell as well as a unionized particle smoke detector. When these were developed about 70 years ago, the idea was that if somebody fell asleep smoking a cigarette on a couch, cigarette would burn through the cotton cloth into the cotton mat, and this would go off instantly. Today, with most of our modern furniture, if you were to take a soldering iron and jab it through the synthetic material into the foam rubber, it would fill the entire room with smoke, and an ionized particle smoke detector would not go off. So I would get one that is both photocell and ionized particle. Get some that are sort of interconnected, wirelessly interconnected from one floor to the other. You might want those with CO detectors as well. I'm glad to see that there are a few supply registers down here. I have none at all in the dining room. And I've got one here in the Florida room, and one in the kitchen, one in the living room. It's too cold to run the air conditioning today, but we should be able to turn the fan on, see how well the distribution system is working. We have that to do, and we need to get into the attic, and then that's going to do us for today. Thermostat in the dining room controls both the heating and the cooling, and there are fan settings and so on and so forth. Things seem to be working properly. I have no idea how you would set up the setbacks for lower heating in the daytime or late at night. Blue dot should be able to give you information on that. Right here is the only filter for the whole system, and this filter grill is on a hinge on that side. And these little buttons right here, pull those down and this whole thing will open up. And it's a good ripple filter. That should probably be enough for one season. But it should be changed now. It should be changed at the beginning of the season. We're doing the attic next. The banging tells me that the plumber hasn't yet been able to get into the sewer lines. That'll probably be the last thing we do today. We'll check out our ceilings as well, see if there's any indications of any leaks. I guess there used to be lighting fixtures in the ceilings. Those have been done away with. The walls and ceilings here are all real plaster, and the basement bedroom and everything, that's all modern drywall. Doesn't hold up as well as this stuff. As we noted, a large percentage of the windows are painted shut. Most of them do have storm windows on them. And I will be coming back to check the roof and hopefully plug the shower stalls to see how well those are doing. No sign of roof leaks?
Okay, that's good.
Yep.
Is the toilet supposed to actually be fixed?
What's that?
Is the toilet supposed to be in a fixed position, like it's mobile?
No, this one has, it needs a new wax ring underneath it. Okay. We're in the one of the smaller front bedrooms, and we're now next going to go into the attic, which is right here. Well, we are up in here now, and not seeing a lot of signs of excessive moisture up in here, although the ventilation is very, very poor. If I trek through here, I'm going to get all kinds of fiberglass brought down the stairs. I'm not going to do that. I'm not seeing any indication that there's been any problems with my framing or with serious roof leaks. The air handler for the air conditioning system is way down at the other end of this, and it would certainly be my strong recommendation to put another access probably in the hallway near the return, so that probably on the hallway way over to the side, so that that can be serviced regularly. The moment we can't turn it on. It probably needs chemical. It should be chemically cleaned about every 3 or 4 years, and it's not going to be possible to get anybody to do that the way this is now arranged. You need a separate access to that area. Otherwise, everything's fine up here. I'm now videoing the camera going through the sewer line, and the camera head is actually upside down. Maybe if I turned it this way, it would look a little bit more like you'd expect it to look, with water flowing on the bottom. Looks like cast iron to me.
That's cast iron.
Okay. You going forward or coming back?
I'm coming back. The whole line's pretty much cast iron.
Where's it? Is there any terracotta on the street?
No.
No?
Not, but when it gets into the city, it is. It's terracotta. But
That's past the sidewalk, right?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. And from your experience, what happens when the city terracotta lines screw up? Nothing. They just like what?
They don't really do anything. As long as the customer's in is clear. This house probably doesn't have a clean out front. If they do have to access it, usually they instruct the customer to get a clean out put in. In this case,
And
the
then
line's in good shape. So,
if the terracotta that's got roots in it or it's ruptured,
yeah,
what do you
the terracotta does have roots in it.
do? This terracotta does?
Not for the house, it's on the city side.
It's on the city side.
Right.
And is there anything to be done about that? Probably a nice clean out?
Yeah, the city won't do anything. They're going to tell you to put a clean out in for them to access it. And in these houses, usually 9 times out of 10, it's not one in there.
What?
There's usually not one to access out the front so the city can get to it.
Okay. I've had too many clients where the terracottas failed.
Yeah, we do a lot of those.
What, do you replace it?
Yeah, we do a lot of replacement.
Okay.
A lot of replacement.
Can you do it on the city side, or
No.
what happens there? You just have to live?
You have to contact the city, and then they take it from there. But you can't go any further than the sidewalk, than the front sidewalk of your property. That's as far as you can go.
Okay, what about, if the terracotta is not ruptured or it's not cracked badly, it's just got roots in it, you can probably cut the roots with one of those knife cleaners, and then there is a system whereby they can if the terracotta's walls are up to it, put plastic liner in that.
Not recommended.
Well, what else are you going to do with the city?
You can't. You'd have to contact them.
And they're not going to do a damn thing, right?
9 times out of 10 they won't.
Yep. Okay. And that is the end of this inspection, the end of this report, and the end of this video.